Hey everybody, this is the Longhorn Confidential for Tuesday, November 7th. Danny Davis, the Austin American-Statesman. As always, Kirk Bowles is here. Cedric Golden's here. Hopefully Thomas Jones is able to jump on. He's probably still recovering from the season opening basketball game last night, but we're gonna
Yeah, I
we're
was there.
go
I was there.
go forward without him, and hopefully Thomas jumps on here soon. But thank you for watching us on YouTube. Thank you for watching us on statesman.com or listening to us wherever you get your podcasts. But we have a jam-packed show, a lot of things to talk about. So let's kind of get into it. Texas 33, Kansas State 30 this past Saturday at DKR. Game was decided in overtime. Had some drama up to the very last play. I was control deleting my story. Kirk wasn't able to start his column. Seth wasn't able to start his column. It was a masterclass in deadline writing if you picked up the Sunday newspaper. But let's kind of start right there. That fourth down stop. Kansas State decides to go for it. Texas is up by 3 after kicking a field goal on the first drive of overtime. Kansas State gets down to the 4-yard line, decides to go for it. Will Howard, their fine quarterback, drop back to pass. Texas pass rush got to him, and he was just kind of able to fling it up. And Devondre Sweat, I don't know if he was trying to intercept it or what, but it ended up on the ground. So Texas survives. When we look back at this season and we're putting together a highlight reel, is that fourth down play? Is that the first play on the highlight reel? Was that the play of the year for Texas? Kirk, we'll start with you.
Yes, because it's the most recent. But, right before that, you could say Bert Auburn's, 42-yard field goal, was just as big or bigger. He misses that, and K-State probably tries a field goal. You don't know, but you figure they'd try a field goal. And then you can go back before that, go to the Houston game, Jahdae Barron on the fourth down stop against Houston. That gets away from them. But I would probably say, Jahdae's play, and I think the fourth down stop were two of the biggest. And one thing I mentioned in my 9 things tomorrow is when you go back and look at it, that thing that created that fourth down play was when Baron Sorrell, had the backside pursuit and ran down, I forget which of the ball carrier was, it made it 4th and 1. And that led to the missed field goal in regulation when they couldn't make that, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm misremembering, but so many big plays. But yeah, that final play probably ranks number 1 right now to me.
Said, where does that rank for you?
Two. Jahdae in Houston was a big deal. They felt like they were in collapse mode to me, and it's bad habit of playing to the competition now. K-State's good. I'm not talking about K-State, but I'm talking about Wyoming, and I'm talking about Houston. Teams that just kind of stuck around that shouldn't have been sticking around, that they could have put away. And I think a lot of that is on Coach Steve Sarkisian, who just insists on going for it on fourth down and short, instead of just banking field goals, banking the money early on. It's like, to me, I treat it like going for 2. I don't go for 2 until the second half, and I'm not going for it on 4th and 3 until I have to, especially if I'm playing with house money. I love the idea of trying to land a knockout blow, but who's to say if you're not up 23-0 or what have you against K-State or whomever, that just maybe you're going to be better off making them take them out of their comfort zone by building a lead. I think Houston would have gone away if Texas had kicked that field goal early.
I need to give some love to the offense. Apparently, this is a defense show. Obviously, Jahdae's fourth down stopping Houston was huge, as was the Baron Sorrell's, Devondre Sweat, that pressure, as well as fine work of the secondary with Ryan Watts and David Benda and stuff like that. Kind of the opposite of what happened in the Oklahoma game. But Xavier Worthy's touchdown catch against Alabama still kind of sticks out in my mind. It was an early shot. It sent the message that Texas was here and could compete with this Alabama team on the road in Tuscaloosa, and kind of set the tone for that win. And that win, when it all said and done, if this Texas team is contending for a playoff spot, we're going to be talking about that win in Alabama as the number 1 mark on their resume, as opposed to them surviving against a Kansas State team. Obviously, if they lose that game against Kansas State, the conversation's moot, but that win in Alabama is what's going to be carrying this Texas team if they have any shot at getting into the college football playoff. And I thought that Xavier Worthy touchdown catch from Quinn Ewers, 44 yards, that was the defining moment of that game. So I'll give a little love to the offense. Those guys don't nearly enough love from the media.
And you know what, Danny, that wasn't an easy catch, if you remember. I mean, that's over the shoulder, and he's kind of twisting, and it wasn't the perfect pass. So, boy, you're dead on there. That was just a huge play this year.
Speaking of Quinn Ewers, speaking of the college football playoff chase and the rest of this Texas season, against Kansas State, Malik Murphy made his second career start. Over 2 starts, he has led them to 2 wins. That's the most important stat. He's thrown 3 touchdown passes, which is also very good. Has also had four turnovers, a couple of which have been just ill-advised throws. Has struggled at times, which should be expected for a redshirt freshman making his second career start. But the fact of the matter is, does Texas need Quinn Ewers back to make a playoff run and get into the playoff, win a Big 12 championship? Can they get by with Malik Murphy, or do they need Quinn Ewers back, who Steve Sarkisian did say was throwing at practice on Monday, is now day-to-day as opposed to week with his shoulder sprain. So who knows if he's going to play this weekend at TCU. We'll get to ask Sarkisian again on Thursday when we talk with him. But does Texas need Quinn back? Said you kind of wrote about that a little bit after the game on Saturday in your column. So we'll start with you.
Yes, they need him back. I like the upside of Malik Murphy, but Malik Murphy is inexperienced, and it shows. And he threw 2 passes that should have been picked off against K-State on Saturday. They were dropped. And so I just think that he's not ready for this level of competition just yet. But the only way to get ready is to play. So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. You're going to live with the bad plays. He's a playmaker. He's got a great arm. He's electric. But I think that the experience of Quinn Ewers, even though I don't know that his upside is as big as Malik Murphy's, is needed right now. They need a calming force in that huddle, someone who they've been to war with, someone they know they can make plays, someone who won at Alabama earlier this year. I don't know who's going to have the better career, but if you're asking me right now, and with 3 games left in 2023, I think Quinn Ewers gives them a much better shot to win games than Malik Murphy.
Kirk?
Yeah, he's a starter for a reason. He's a lot more stabilizing than Malik Murphy, even with all the upside of Malik's talent. I mean, 3 interceptions and 70 passes, and Quinn had 3 and 213. Yeah, what did it was he go 225 passes without an interception, wasn't it, Danny? So and he throws some scary passes at times too, as we know. But he's 12-5 in his career, and Malik's 2-0 after 2 home games with just a great defense that probably helped bail him out. So I would say I've been impressed with Malik. I mean, I know some people want him to play perfect, and golly, how could you throw that pass? But like you say, he's a redshirt freshman. It said he hadn't been in this environment before. But and one thing that Sark said on Monday I thought was very telling, that last winning drive, not overtime where he didn't look that good, but that last drive, 62 of their 69 yards setting up the field goal were by passes. He was 5 out of 8, and he's not a guy that gets rattled. Doesn't mean he doesn't make mistakes. He does. But I just been thoroughly impressed. And I personally think they could get by without Quinn these next 3 games. Iowa State, a little problematic on the road, night game. But are you saying Malik can't beat TCU, Federico?
I didn't say anything.
You were waving me off. Okay. Speak your mind, sir.
I think they need him. I think Iowa State is a trap game with Malik Murphy there.
They're all trap games.
No, but with Iowa State especially, because they're decent this year. They're better than we thought they were going to be. I think he can beat TCU without Quinn.
I do too.
Iowa State on the road, raucous, mid-November. It's going to be cold and nasty. I really believe that they need Quinn Ewers to win that game.
Yeah, I think they're offensively challenged, Iowa State, so I think they can get by without him. What say you, Danny?
I'd say they can beat all these 3 teams without Quinn. I think Malik, regardless, it's still Texas has more talent. Malik is the more talented quarterback he's going to be the most talented quarterback of the TCU game and the Iowa State game and the Texas Tech game. It's just a matter. They'd be better off with Quinn, though. I mean, I think the playoff offense would be run better. I think Quinn, he's completing like 70% of his passes, which is ranked 9th nationally. He adds another dimension with his legs that Malik just doesn't have yet. I mean, Quinn has shown that he can scoot a little bit this season. So I think the offense would run it more efficiently if Quinn is in there. And Quinn has been making less mistakes this season than what we've seen with Malik. But if Quinn can't go, I still think this Texas team is just too talented to, Malik is not me back there. He's still a 4-star talented kid who's still developing and still growing and still figuring some stuff out. But I still think he'd be the best quarterback in all 3 of those games. Big 12 championship game, that's a different story. Obviously, a playoff game, if they make it, that's a different story too. But as far as these next 3 games go, I would say Texas can win with Malik, but I think they'd be a little bit less stressed out if Quinn was back there and able to make it back. But we will see. We're going to do our TCU preview, not knowing who the quarterback is, but this Saturday we'll be heading up to Fort Worth. Me and Sed and Kirk will be up there too, as well as TJ, a couple of our esteemed photographers, and Caleb Young doing some digital work for us at 6:30 p.m. at Amon G. Carter Stadium on Saturday. If you're watching at home, it's an ABC game. Last year, another night game is at DKR, and that's a game a lot of Texas fans want to forget. 17-10 loss, a brutal performance by the Texas offense. What does Texas have to do to avoid that this season? Obviously, this is a different TCU team. This is not the TCU team that made the playoff, but they still have a lot of those guys back, and they're not going to be scared of Texas. So, Kirk, what does Texas have to do to avoid a repeat of 2022?
Score a touchdown, score a point on offense. That would be a nice change of pace. We all know they got a field goal and a Barron scoop and score. And that was it. When we asked Jalen Ford about that, he said, does your offense need to outscore your defense in this game? He couldn't help but chuckle a little bit. So that was their worst offensive game. I think we'd all agree. And for whatever reason, Sark refused to give the ball to Bijan. I guess he was channeling his Arthur Smith, and he gave him 12 carries, 12 carries for 29 yards. And we all know Bijan needs twice that many. So run the ball, Steve, run the ball. I mean, you got Jonathan Brooks over 1,000 yards, 6.2 yards a carry, 6th in the nation. I think he's maybe 3rd among Power 5 backs. So I would like to think there will be a healthy dose of a run game. And this is an offense, guys, as you know, they've scored over 30 points in all 9 games. And I really don't see anything in TCU's makeup that's going to keep them from doing that again on Saturday.
Said if you got the headset on, what are you calling for? What does Texas have to do offensively to kind of avoid another disaster?
Be Texas. Be who you are. Be a physical power running team. Jonathan Brooks, 18 carries. CJ Baxter, 10 carries. Keelan Robinson, 3 carries. Give it to your best players. This offensive line is supposed to be that good. Let's see how good they are against a team that's in the middle of the pack in the Big 12 in rush defense. I mean, they're giving up like 3.9 yards a carry. Texas should be getting 4.5 in this game. Make it easy on your young quarterback. Run the football. Run to set up the pass, not vice versa. Don't come out firing like you did when he started in place of Quinn. We don't need that. We don't need to see that. If he's handing it off and you're up 17-0, you'd be amazed how comfortable he's going to be with that lead. Run the football.
And kick the field goal, Steve. Kick the field goal.
Yeah, I'm not one to say don't be Steve Sarkisian is who Steve Sarkisian is. I mean, the 4th down stuff, we just got to get used to it at this point. There's going to be one during the game that completely makes us shake our head, but there's also going to be a couple where CJ Baxter takes us off for 50 or helps them set up that field goal at the end of regulation. So it kind of is what it is, but you're correct. I mean, TCU had a good run defense last year, but the Bijan stats were completely befuddling, and they have a good run game this year. Lean on those guys. Get Xavier and Adonai in the mix, and Jatavian Sanders as well. I mean, you have too many offensive weapons to be held to just a single field goal and whatever is 30-yard rushing last year and 170 passing yards. Your offense is just too talented. And I know the offensive line a little banged up, but you should be able to if Colorado scored whatever Colorado scored to begin the season, you should be just fine offensively. And if we're talking next week about offensive struggles, and oh boy, don't know don't know where this we won't be talking about the playoff anymore. That's for sure. But I think they have enough talent to get it done. Just lean on 24 and number 4 CJ Baxter and get on to Ames the following week. Speaking of Xavier Worthy, who we've spoken about a couple of times, when we talked to him on Monday, he said that Josh Newton, the TCU cornerback, call him one of the best corners in the nation. So that could be a fun matchup if Josh and Xavier kind of get matched up together. But is that the matchup you're looking forward to the most in this game? The wide receiver corner action, or is there something else you're going to be keeping your eyes on Saturday night? Kirk, we'll start with you.
I'm going to keep an eye on that TCU run defense. It hadn't been that salty.
Oh my God! Quit stealing my answers.
He asked me first.
You should ask me first that time, because that's the obvious one. They're not going. They don't care about the throw. They're not afraid of.
Can you wait your turn?
They're not. I mean, that's easy. Go ahead.
What's left? Just stole all my thunder. I mean, what K-State did against TCU? Ran for 343 yards, 343, and they didn't quite make that against Texas. What did they get? Texas 33 yards. So and they had 52 rush attempts against TCU. And I know West Virginia had over 200 yards. Iowa State had over 200 yards on the ground. And that Josh Newton, Xavier Worthy is a matchup I will enjoy and watch that. But as far as the most telling thing, I think it's the run defense against that running back room for Texas. What say you, Danny? We're just skipping said. What say you, Danny?
Yeah, I'm kind of, obviously there's going to be some fun player matchups. I'm kind of interested to see coaching wise. Sonny Dykes has had kind of Texas's number for whatever reason, both last year with TCU and also when he was at Cal. So for whatever reason,
3-0.
Call it family grudges or whatever. So I'm kind of interested to see what he does. And obviously Steve's had one of these weird seasons where he's been really praised for turning around this program, but there's been a lot of question marks about some of his play calling decisions and some of the stuff, the fourth down stuff. So I'm kind of curious to see just kind of how that matchup goes, how these offenses look, and kind of who makes the fewer coaching mistakes, at least from our vantage points, because it's really easy to pick out coaching mistakes from the press box as opposed to on the sideline. So let's see what Sonny and Steve does, and maybe we'll just stir the pot a little bit and bring up that Sonny Dykes was maybe hired at Texas story again. So we'll stir the pot a little bit on that this weekend too. Seth, did you want to add anything? Did you find a matchup that Kirk didn't steal?
No, but let's just say Josh Hoover's not Jared Goff, and he ain't Max Duggan. So that's all. That's all I'll say on that.
Yeah, Texas fans, I'm sure, tip their cap to Mr. Duggan, but we're not sad at all to see him graduate and get on out of Fort Worth. I think he's with the Chargers right now. But we talked a little bit about Xavier Worthy. He's having another good season. But also having another good season is Adonai Mitchell, the transfer from Georgia, who's coming, and it's kind of become the favorite target of Malik Murphy, 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. It's kind of I don't know if you want to pick one or the other. I'm going to ask you to. Who's wide receiver one? Who is the top target in this offense? Who are you more scared about if you're the TCU defensive coordinator, Adonai or Xavier? Seth, we'll start with you this time since Kirk's stealing answers.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Daniel. Xavier Worthy is scary, a scary dude. And whatever Adonai's getting is because Adonai's talented. But if they're doubling somebody, it's X. He's the one guy. He's got that speed you just can't. It's hard to scheme against pure speed. Adonai Mitchell is having a great year. But if it's a guy that's keeping me up at night, it's Xavier Worthy.
AD has got the better hands. Xavier is a better receiver, I think. AD's had 1 drop all year, and X-Man's had 4, I believe. But Xavier, like Cedric said, he's an all-purpose guy, and I'm on the Football Writers All-American Committee, and I'm going to push him for all-purpose player of the year because, he's averaging over 102 yards per game all-purpose. And we've seen him on those jet sweeps and end arounds. We obviously seen him on punt returns the last 2 games, and he almost broke one again against Kansas State. So I love AD's hands, but just something about Xavier. He's just electric, and he's kind of a jitterbugger guy, and he finds that crease, and he can fly. So if you made me choose, I'd take Xavier, but AD is just a phenomenal talent, and it's just quite a tandem. Who you got, Danny?
I'd probably go with Xavier too, just because of how explosive he is. I mean, he can burn you from your 5-yard line to the Texas 5-yard line or midfield. I think if Texas is marching inside the red zone, I think you might start shaking your boots a little bit about number 5 and kind of what he's been doing, kind of been that top target for Malik recently. But it's just been fun watching these two. I mean, I think they're probably the best duo since Colin and Devin Duvernay a few years back, as far as production wise is concerned. But once again, I mean, Jordan Whittington's, as Steve said a couple weeks ago, is going to be in the NFL, whether it's on special teams or as a receiver, and he's pretty much an afterthought in this offense just because of the production those two have given, and they haven't needed Jatavian Sanders to be like 100 yards per game. I mean, Jatavian Sanders, they've been kind of pick their spots with him running his routes because of what Xavier and Adonai have done. So those two have just been really fun. But I'll give it to X just by the slimmest of margins. But that's a good problem to have if you're a Texas fan, having to pick between those two gentlemen. Really quick, who do you got on Saturday? I'll pick Texas. Not going to pick the spread because Texas makes every game closer than they need it to be. But I'll pick Texas this weekend.
Texas by double digits.
I think Texas, and they cover, don't you, Sid? I think it's kind of like a 30-14 kind of game.
Spread 15.
I don't know. I saw 10.5 Monday. I don't know what it is now.
They'll win by 10. They'll win by 10.
It's double digits.
That's
yeah.
I don't take gambling advice from me, and I would not take gambling advice involving the Horns. They've been making people sweat a little bit. The Longhorn fans like to gamble on their team. But as always, let's talk a little bit about what else is going on around on campus. It's a very busy week on campus. On Friday, if you want to head over to Meyer Stadium, the soccer team will be hosting Lamar in a first-round NCAA tournament match. Texas is a 5 seed. Texas is also the Big 12 tournament champions. Ange Kelly and her group got it done on Saturday, beating BYU in the championship game. Lexi Misimo has just been incredible. Trinity Byers having a great season as well. So Texas will see how far they can go in the tournament and see if they can make some noise as that 5 seed. The Texas volleyball team now ranked 3rd in the AVCA poll. So Jared Elliott's crew just keeps climbing and climbing as they try to defend their national title. They're at Kansas State on Wednesday night. They play Cincinnati on Saturday. That game was actually moved up to 1 p.m. So if you were planning on heading to Gregory Gym, have to do it a little bit sooner, but then you can get home, watch that football game on ABC. Cross country, if you're into that, head on over to Fayetteville on Friday for the South Central Regional. The NCAA meet will be the following week for the runners, which I tip my cap to the cross country runners. That their workload is insane because they're about to go straight into indoor season and outdoor season, and it's just nothing but running. And that just seems, as a big guy over here, that just seems insane to me. So Sed can nod off as much as he wants, but that's the one sport.
Wait a minute, we
know we're not doing that. There's no glory days tales from us about our cross country days. So tip of our hat to the runners. And then we're gonna talk a little basketball. The men opened up their season last night. They have another game against Delaware State on Friday at 8 p.m. You can do the soccer basketball doubleheader if you get a parking spot over in the main garage. That'll be very convenient. But Sed and Kirk, one player to watch from this team. They're ranked 18th on the AP preseason poll. Who's one player on the men's team that you're kind of keeping an eye on this season as they try to, reignite's the wrong word, but kind of match their magic from last season and build off that Elite Eight run? Sed, we'll start with you.
I watched them on Monday night. I'm going to go with Caden Shedrick, the big 6'10", 6'11" transfer from Virginia. He's coming off some shoulder issues, but he gives them that beef they need in the middle. When they get to Big 12, Kansas and West Virginia always have good big guys. And Texas seems to always be undersized, but he's going to give them that girth that they're going to need in the middle. Help Dylan Mitchell out, and looked good. He's not in shape yet, he says, but he's going to give them a good dimension, someone they can dump the ball off into and get some buckets. So I like what I saw from him early. He's my guy.
Kirk, who are you keeping your eye on this season? Who's a player to watch?
Well, I think Dylan Mitchell's just going to explode this year. He's playing with a confidence and a freedom that he didn't have last year as a freshman, and he's got a good handle on him. He can, handle the ball in the open court, and he's going to have some tomahawk jams that are going to be highlight reel specials. So I think just the extra dimension he's got, along with being that rim presence and rim protector, like the Virginia transfer you mentioned, and once Dessou comes back. So, but Dylan Mitchell, I think, is going to take his game to another level.
Moving over to the basketball game that we played on Wednesday night, the Texas women were ranked 13th in their AP preseason poll. They open up their season against Southern. Then on Sunday afternoon, Liberty comes to town for another match. If you want to see what Vic Schaefer and his very stacked team looks like this year, they pretty much return everyone except for Sonia Morris off of last year's team. So this team comes in with a lot of expectations. Same question. I'll be able to participate in this one since I actually cover the women. But we'll start with you again since Kirk steals all these answers. Who's one member of the women's basketball team that you're looking forward to? And we're not including Rory Harmon. We talk enough about Rory. She's so spectacular. But who's the player you're looking at for the season?
They're going to need Deanna Gaston to be a junkyard dog. They're going to need her to be one of those 12-point, 10 rebound types, because she has a skill set to get all the loose balls like a Dennis Rodman type. She's a good finisher at the bucket. She's a really good defender. She's got to stay out of foul trouble. But I think that if she can take a step up and stay out of the doghouse, she spent some time in that doghouse last year, Daniel. If she can stay out of that doghouse and go up a notch on her game, I really think that they're going to be a force. And on those nights when the jumpers aren't falling, she can be a difference maker cleaning up underneath.
I'll be Captain Obvious here and go with Madison Booker, the 6'1" freshman. Is she a point guard? Is she a power forward? Is she a basketball forward? She can play positions 1 through 4 and probably will. And so she can score for them. And she's a physical presence. She's stout, and she can make some trouble for other teams inside as well as outside. And besides being able to score, even the number 12 prospect in the nation, she can spell Rory a little bit. She's got the handle too. So maybe Rory's minutes will cut down from 40 to 39, maybe even 38. So, but Madison Booker, she's a star in the making.
I'm going to go with Shayla Gonzalez. I think this Texas team has a lot of talent in the paint, especially once Deanna and Aaliyah Moore get healthy. Deanna's probably going to miss the first week or two with an ankle issue, and Aaliyah's working her way back from that knee injury. But you talk about those two, you add in Taylor Jones, you add in Hattie Faye, who isn't going to give you 20 points a game, but just owns the glass and is a great rebounder. Madison, wherever you want to put her, whether you want to put her in the paint or on the perimeter, she's talented enough to play over. But this team, I don't really know where the shooters are coming from, especially since Sonia is no longer there. Holly can hit some threes for you, but she's not going to be shooting 10 threes a game. Gisela Mayul from Cedar Park, she's a pretty decent shooter, as we saw in the exhibition match, but she's going to be essentially a freshman. She joined the team midseason last year. So I'm kind of wondering where the shooting's coming from. The obvious answer is Shaylee, who's a 6-year senior, came back for another year, able to use that COVID year after transferring in from BYU ahead of last season, was probably their leading scorer, probably their top shooter when Sonia was hurt. So this team's going to need some shooting. We'll see if Rory's shot develops a little bit more. She's been promising it to us. We're going to see if that happened. But Shaylee, we know what we can get from her, and it's going to be interesting to see if she kind of becomes that just knockdown threat. They need 6 points. They're down by 6 in the final minute to speed her and see what happens. But she's the one I'm keeping my eye on, even though I don't know if I'm winning any points saying the starting guard who started 36 games last year is a person to keep an eye on, but that's what I'm going to go with. But yeah, if you're interested in seeing the women's basketball team, they open up on Wednesday. Once again, the men will be back in action at the Moody Center on Friday night, and the women play again on Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon. You can read about all that stuff, all our football, all our volleyball, all our soccer coverage, all that stuff on station.com, or you can actually pick up a print newspaper if you still get those delivered to your house. But it will all be in there over the next couple of days, and we'll be back next week to talk about what happened this past weekend, as well as get you all ready for the Iowa State game. I'm gonna get my sweater out. I'm ready for nice chilly Ames. Although I've been hearing it's not gonna be actually that cold. I heard someone say it's gonna be in the 50s, which is a little disappointing. I want 20-degree weather, but I may not get that.
Of course you do.
Names. I guess I'm the only one. Me
Spoken
and
like a true Montanan.
Me and Jake Majors, we like the cold, but that's about it. But that's gonna do it for us. We appreciate y'all watching on YouTube or wherever you watch it. We appreciate you listening to us wherever you get your podcasts. But yeah, we'll be back next week. For Kirk, Cedric, I'm Danny. Deuces.
Safe.